Live with studios in Midland and Odessa, you're watching CBS7 First Alert News at 9 on the CW West Texas.
The city of Odessa celebrating the holidays. It's about family.
Over 151,000 people have visited Odessa's Starbright Village this year. Coming up in just a few minutes, we talk about what went into making this year so successful. Thank you so much for joining us here for CBS7 News on the CW, and thanks for streaming with us live on the CBS7 YouTube channel. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll begin tonight with news in our community where Andrews County, an organization there, is helping residents in need. Operation Blessing Andrews, Texas does exactly what their name says they do. Not only do they provide food and basic necessities for people, but they also help out with things like rent, food stamps, and more. This organization helps out the people in Andrews who can't afford food, or homeless, or even just people that can't keep up with inflation. They have yearly toy drives, school supply drives, food handouts, and connect families with government agencies to apply for benefits. Just like any other small town has its benefits, they also have needs.
Generally, the need in Andrews is for utility service, rental assistance, food, just basic needs that you could see elsewhere. We don't deal a lot with a lot of homeless, but we do have them also, and we try to help them.
Many people are born and raised in Andrews are inspired by a small organization coming together to help those in need, and they would like to continue that tradition for years to come.
Seeing the people that are in need inspires me to have a purpose in this world and just to do my God-giving talent to help the community.
If you'd like more information on the organization, go to CBS7.com. Sad news to report this evening where the County Judges and Commissioners Association of Texas have said that Andrews County Judge Charlie Falcon has passed away. On Facebook, Means Methodist Church in Andrews posted an update today from Falcon's family. In it, the family thanks the community for their prayers and also says in part, quote, "We just ask that you continue to pray as the days to come without the glue that held this family together are going to be tough," end quote. Other headlines now happening this weekend. The Sandwichery Sandwich Shop is closing its doors in Odessa after 37 years. It's a family-run business that has been serving Odessa for a long time. The shop opened in 1986 and quickly became a favorite amongst West Texans. Both co-owners created a lot of memories with their loved ones and with the community, but they recently decided it's time to move on and spend more time with their family. The shop will be closing on Friday after the last sandwich is sold.
I just want to have a little more time to chill out and maybe do some traveling, play a little more golf, see my grandkids more often, and you know, I'll find some things to do.
The building is changing ownership and will become the third tall city meat market in the Permian Basin. Now a traffic alert you should know about, especially if you commute through Midland County on the interstate. The right lane of the east lane of the Interstate 20 is closed right now at the Cotton Flat Bridge site. This closure began today and will continue until Saturday. TxDOT reports crews are working on pavement repairs near the Cotton Flat Bridge site, so there will be slow-moving traffic and construction vehicles. TxDOT is asking you to expect delays and avoid the route if you can. But let's get a check now of our CBS7 First Alert forecast on this Wednesday night. Chief Meteorologist Tom Tieferteller is with us now in the First Alert Weather Center. Tom, good evening. How are things looking out there?
It's pretty quiet and dry as we were seeing that past full moon out there shining brightly in the eastern sky. Temperatures are dropping too. Take a look at high temperatures today. Again, a little on the chilly side, only the mid 50s to upper 50s over towards Odessa. 61 in Presidio. We got up to 70 around Rio Grande Village a little bit earlier today. But again, quiet evening. Take a look at our live eye cam in Odessa right now, where we are seeing temperatures sliding down into the lower 40s. Right at 40 in Marfa, but you get out in these mountain areas near freezing in Alpine, below freezing in Marfa, 37 in the Fort Davis area, and also up towards Hobbs. As we're not seeing a lot of wind out there, we were looking at a northwest to north wind. It's very light right now across the area. And again, pretty quiet weather. Over the next few days, we'll see some high clouds in our forecast, but overall, we're looking at just some chilly conditions moving in for the new year. We'll talk more about that here in a couple of minutes.
All righty, Tom, thank you very much. Well, the final nights of Starbright Village in Odessa are upon us. The holiday staple in Odessa will close January 1st. This year, the City of Odessa Parks and Recreation Department has overcome a few challenges and made some new changes as well. Organizers say it was a successful year all around, with a few more days to make it even better. The latest numbers from the department show nearly 38,000 cars have visited the drive-through light display, and an estimated 151,000 viewers went through. The annual event has run for decades for free with optional donations at the door. Rather than outsourcing volunteer groups, which take a portion of the funds for the nonprofit, new director Max Reyes asked city employees to volunteer this year.
And I mean, I was very impressed with the City of Odessa guys that we work with, because we've had several groups show up. And so all that money stays with us and we don't have to pay anybody at this point. So it's been a really big blessing, and I would like to continue it, for the years to come.
All the money is reinvested into Starbright Village. You'll remember last month some of the displays were actually knocked over. Donations could be used to help make repairs to those lights. Reyes says that this incident is still under investigation as potential vandalism. And mark your calendar. The Sandhills Stock Show and Rodeo are coming to town next week, and the schedule is jam-packed with lots of family fun. One of the most anticipated events is going to be the equestrian event, which is new to the Sandhills Stock Show and Rodeo. I had the chance to speak with Miss Rodeo Sandhills teen, Suzette Trujillo. She'll be part of the Escaramuza team. Suzette explains how this performance sport is deeply rooted in Mexican culture.
We pay homage to the Mexican riders, the women that rode in the Mexican Revolution. And by doing that, we ride side saddle, same as they did. We wear very intricate dresses, as well as we have to wear sombreros, boots, everything's matching pretty much.
From the rodeo itself to dancing and even an incredible country concert, I was also able to speak with the headliner of this concert, country music star John Wolf, about what he's looking forward to when he makes his way to the Ector County Coliseum. Wolf explained that playing in the Permian Basin is still a new experience for him.
I don't get to come out there very much, so I'm looking forward to meeting a lot of new people, and I'm really thankful that the Sandhills Stock Show and Rodeo is having me out there. So I'm there to learn and meet some folks, play some country music, and make some new friends is what I'm looking forward to.
If you're looking forward to seeing John Wolf and Carson Jeffrey in concert, he'll be performing live Friday, January 12th in Barn G at the Ector County Coliseum. Tickets and information are online at sandhillsssr.com. In your state headlines across Texas, U.S. officials flew back tonight from Mexico after holding meetings to deal with the escalating migrant crisis at the U.S. southern border. Another caravan of thousands of migrants set out from southern Mexico for the U.S. this week. CBS News correspondent Nicole Skenga reports on talks from Washington.
Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador greeted U.S. officials, including Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, as they try to make headway on the escalating numbers of migrants flowing through Mexico on their way to the U.S. They include hundreds trying to get warm along train tracks in the Mexican city of Chihuahua. Mexican officials stopped the trains they were traveling on top of as they try to stem the flow of some of the migrants. Venezuelan migrant Haley Peraza is among them. This is really hard, she says about her journey that started 3 months ago. But officials have done little to stop others, like this group of an estimated 8,000 migrants, many from Central America and Venezuela, currently heading north in Mexico. As many as 10,000 migrants a day have approached the U.S. southern border this month. Blinken was in Mexico to ask for more help. López Obrador says he's willing if the U.S. supplies additional aid to the countries the migrants are fleeing. Cities housing thousands of the migrants who do enter the U.S. say they don't have enough resources.
We expect the surge to intensify in the coming days and weeks.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams announced an executive order requiring charter buses transporting migrants to provide 32 hours notice before they reach the city.
We cannot allow buses with people needing our help to arrive without warning at any hour of day and night.
New York City has taken in more than 150,000 migrants in less than 2 years. Nicole Skenga, CBS News, Washington.
The mayors of New York, Chicago, and Denver held a meeting today as they try to pressure the federal government for more help. Let's talk your election headlines now, where Michigan Supreme Court said Wednesday it is keeping former President Donald Trump on the state's primary ballot. In the decision, the court said the challenge is to a state appeals court. Ruling was considered but denied because the justices were, quote, not persuaded that the questions presented should be reviewed by this court, end quote. Legal experts say the battle over Michigan's ballot could be revived if Trump becomes the GOP presidential nominee.
the Michigan Supreme Court and the lower court in Michigan was fairly clear that this is just about the primary ballot. So expect this to come back for the general election.
Last week, a divided Colorado Supreme Court cited the so-called insurrection clause, found Trump ineligible to be the president because of his role in the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. That ruling is likely to be appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. Well, now for some headlines you've seen on social media. Gypsy Rose Blanchard is set to be released from prison tomorrow. The Missouri woman pled guilty in 2015 to second-degree murder to killing her mother, who forced her to pretend she was disabled. She was also forced to undergo unnecessary medical procedures as part of a fraud scheme. Blanchard testified that she convicted her boyfriend at the time, Nicole Godelhan, to stab her mother to death. He is serving a life sentence for first-degree murder. Her story was the focus of a Hulu miniseries in 2019, miniseries I should call, in 2019 called The Act. Blanchard is scheduled for release tomorrow after serving 7 years of her 10-year sentence. Now for a look at today's top headlines shown here in real time with real viewers on CBS7.com. You can see all these stories and more by downloading our app and visiting CBS7.com. Still ahead, New York City beefing up security ahead of the iconic Times Square New Year's Eve celebrations. We bring you a look at the precautions the city is taking when we return to CBS 7 News at 9. New York City is beefing up security ahead of the iconic Times Square New Year's Eve celebrations. Every year, the city adds more patrols during this time, but this year there's safety concerns amid the Israel-Hamas war and recent protests across New York. Jen Sullivan looks at the precautions the city is taking as the Big Apple prepares to ring in the next year.
It's one of the world's biggest New Year's Eve celebrations. Watching the ball drop in New York's Times Square. Roughly 60,000 people turn out to ring in the new year in New York. But with those big crowds come big safety concerns.
There's always a serious concern around safety in New Year's Eve.
But this year, there are additional concerns. Amid the Israel-Hamas war, as the conflict abroad affects the streets of New York. Pro-Israel and pro-Palestine protesters taking to the streets, sometimes clashing with police. Since Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th, New York City Mayor Eric Adams says there have been nearly 500 protests throughout the city. During a pro-Palestine protest on Christmas Day, Adams says NYPD called a level 3 mobilization, the second highest threat.
These are very volatile situations.
Last month, during the iconic Rockefeller Center tree lighting, which is nationally broadcast, protesters swarmed the area.
The police department did an amazing job during the tree lighting to mitigate any form of major disruptions.
With all eyes on Times Square ahead of New Year's Eve, NYPD is worried protesters could once again try and disrupt this high-profile event. NYPD will be using drones to monitor New Year's Eve crowds, vehicle scanning devices, and radiation detectors to make sure the new year rings in safely. Jen Sullivan, CBS 7 First Alert News.
Well, we are going to be looking at a quiet end to 2023. Cold front on the way for the new year. We'll talk about its impact coming up next.
Now, from the CBS 7 First Alert Weather Center, here's Chief Meteorologist Tom Tiefertiller.
Well, let's take a look outside at Starbright Village, where you can still see all the Christmas lights for the rest of the week and into the weekend. Beautiful sights like this are waiting for you at McKinney Park, where currently it's 45 degrees. So it's going to be a little chilly out there, but you drive through, stay inside the car, look at all the lights, and stay warm here. And you got till the end of the week to see all that. Well, it does look like we're going to see that big storm system move away from the area. It's buckled this flow, though, and we're seeing in the northerly flow in the upper levels, the atmosphere to a northwest flow. Ridge of high pressure back out to our west is going to move in, and that is going to bring a couple of nice days on the way, but keep things a little chilly before this next system here along the west coast affects us with a cold front later on in the weekend. Right now across the state of Texas, we are seeing a quiet evening out there. A little disturbance moving across portions of the Texas Panhandle, and that is going to bring some high clouds to our forecast coming up overnight tonight and towards the morning hours as temperatures are cold already into the upper 30s across the Texas Panhandle. We're at 40 out at the Middle National Air and Spaceport, so another freezing night looks to be on the way. West Texas Futurecast showing you high clouds are going to hang around in the forecast to the early morning hours. Then we'll start to see them build in from the west, affecting the mountain areas, the Trans-Pecos first off, and maybe into the Permian Basin by later on tomorrow afternoon. But really a quiet forecast is on the way across the area with things looking dry. So for the rest of tonight, here's what we have. Again, temperatures will dip down below freezing for the early morning hours. Can't rule out a high cloud or two, as we'll have light northwest winds. And then for tomorrow, we're going to be looking for a frigid start. 55 by the afternoon, again with some high clouds in the forecast and just light north winds. So again, kind of like today, maybe a couple of clouds in the sky really be about it. That's the trend for the rest of the week and into the weekend. We'll see temperatures moderate a little bit before that next front whips down New Year's Eve. And that's going to drop temperatures for the new year, which is coming up on Monday. And it looks like we'll start off with temperatures a little bit below where they should be this time of the year for the start of the new year, and especially some freezing mornings on the way. May see an area drizzle or two in the forecast Monday night into Tuesday, but really slim chances on that. Just maybe a couple of increases in clouds really is what we'll be looking at.
Tom, thank you. Still ahead here at 9 o'clock, we're looking across the globe at the top international headlines from 2023. We'll be right back after this. Stay with us. Two wars dominated international headlines in 2023, along with deadly earthquakes and climate concerns. CBS's Tina Kraus is in London with a look back at the top international stories of the year.
War rages in Gaza after Hamas launched an October 7th massacre in southern Israel, killing more than 1,200 Israelis and taking hundreds hostage.
We want our loved ones back home now.
A temporary ceasefire in November saw the release of more than 100 hostages in exchange for more than 200 Palestinian prisoners from Israeli jails. Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry says more than 20,000 Palestinians have died in the war. Ukraine launched its much-anticipated summer offensive against Russia. The goal was to retake large swaths of territory, but after months of fighting and little gain, winter is setting in, and so is a stalemate. Massive earthquakes devastated regions in southeastern Turkey and northern Syria in February, killing more than 50,000 people. The climate crisis drove extreme weather around the globe, pushing up temperatures and delivering the world's hottest summer on record in 2023. Relations between China and the U.S. deteriorated when a suspected Chinese spy balloon was shot down over U.S. airspace. Months later, President Biden held a rare meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping in California, where the pair pledged to resume military communications. 5 Americans were freed from Iran in a prisoner swap that included the U.S. releasing 5 detained Iranians and unfreezing $6 billion in oil funds. U.S. Army Private Travis King was charged with desertion after dashing across the border to North Korea from the south while with a tour group. Pope Francis began the year celebrating the funeral mass for his predecessor, Pope Benedict XVI, becoming the first sitting pope to preside over the funeral of a retired pontiff in church history. And a crowning moment for Britain's King Charles III, who waited 70 years to take the throne. Huge crowds packed the streets for the lavish coronation to honor the king and his wife, Queen Camilla. Tina Kraus, CBS News, London.
One other headline overseas this year, Finland became the 31st member of NATO. Sweden has also applied to join the military alliance and has signed a defense cooperation deal that will allow the United States to access all the military bases across the Scandinavian country. And still ahead here at 9 o'clock, you won't want to miss the story about Ollie the cat. Find out why he set sail and how he has made history in the annual Sydney to Hobart yacht race. We'll have that next here at 9. Well, before we go, look at this. Ollie the cat is believed to have made history Tuesday when the furry feline set sail as part of a boat's cruise in the annual Sydney to Hobart yacht race. Throughout the 78 years of the race, there has been no official records of a cat on board, well, until Ollie. Ollie and his owner, Bob Williams, a retired Navy officer, have sailed around the country for the past 5 years, with Williams describing Ollie as an experienced sailor. The two even made a trip across the Tasmanian Sea to New Zealand together. The duo and their co-skipper, Chris Warren, set off to Hobart on board the oldest boat in the race, the Sylph 5, I think, or 6.
Sylph.
Sylph. Interesting.
Sylph 6.
Sylph 6. It's a Roman numeral, by the way. The trio don't expect to compete with the Super Maxis, who led out the fleet out of Sydney's harbor, but they hope to arrive in Hobart before New Year's Eve. What a nice feline who sets sail home.
That's right. Good looking cat.
Good looking cat. Well, thanks for joining us here at 9. We'll see you over on CBS 7 with the news at 10.